Hey family, welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles for lasting love. Ready to Love, Season 2, Episode 20. Woo! I gotta say, that was a serious episode. That was really big. Anyway, it reminded me of something that I used to love when I was growing up, when I was going to elementary school in Detroit, Michigan. And it was one particular task that we used to get assigned to us, every blue moon while I was going to school. And that task was, you know, show and tell. I really got into it a lot because it was one of the most exciting things I kind of took away from my second and third grade time in elementary school, where I used to just sit there and describe things I was really interested in and talk about them, just sort of like what I'm doing now. It's just like I never grew up. It's like a big kid, but at the end of the day, it was really interesting. So, believe it or not, that's really what that episode really did for me while I was watching it. I was looking at it, and I saw the same individuals, and but the ones that really stood out this time, oh my God, I mean, man, it was amazing. I'm looking at London, I'm looking at Devyne, I'm looking at Alexis, and I'm looking at that that situation is really it's not really coming out the way I think it could have been. It could have been a lot better situation, but I actually got a lot of takeaways from it, though. I really learned a lot from it, and I think that I wrote down a few things that I knew I think I should be able to share. So maybe some of the takeaways that I got from the exchange between Devyne and Alexis, as well as London, perhaps you guys might be able to, pull a few nuggets out of this and use them. But before I get started, I want you guys, if you can get anything, or if you have been getting anything from what I've been sharing over the last couple of years, please do a brother a favor, subscribe and share. Subscribe and share, okay? Now let's get started. Now, what I noticed when I was watching Devyne and Alexis, one of the biggest distinctions that I learned just by watching those two ladies is that you can see it was clearly obvious who was the most mature of the two women. It's obviously Devyne. And, you have a 33-year-old, in my view, acting and behaving like a 33-year-old. And I think London, as far as I was concerned, one of the problems that I really had with this guy, and I'm going to talk about at least 4 of the takeaways I got from observing the way he was dealing with both of those ladies, is that he didn't do a great job as far as I was concerned. And I have some reservations about this young man. But let me go ahead on. I'm not going to go ahead and belabor what I really think about this person at this moment, but I want to talk specifically about the 4 things that I saw with this young man. First of all, I never really saw him being himself when it came to the ladies. It appears to me that when he was with Devyne, he was one way. When he was with Alexis, he was another way. And I know for some of you, you may think that just because you're with a woman, a specific woman, that you're going to be different with each and every woman. Yes and no. Yes, from the standpoint that you're going to be responding to her. But no, you're still going to be responding to her from your core value system. And so if you are in a situation like he was, it appeared to me that he put a lot of emphasis on being more confusing than anything. And so for me, that was not necessarily what I would call a red flag, but it certainly was not something that a man, especially at his age, I think he's 41 or 42. I think by now he should have been able to be a little bit more authentic about the direction and where he wanted to go. He should have some idea of his own gifts and his own contribution and the direction he wants to go. And he should have been able to determine by now, which one of the women he would be most likely to benefit more from contributing the gifts that he would be bringing to a relationship going forward. That's number one. Number two, and I think to me this is really the most telling. To me, he never made a decision. Okay, I know you guys are probably saying, well, yeah, he did. He decided he was going to go with Devyne. That was a default decision. That wasn't a decision that he made. The decision was made for him because if you guys recall, when he was at the cabin and he was talking to Alexis, while he was talking to Alexis, of course, because she is young and she is impatient, she threw her hands up and she shut it down because his communication style was infuriating her. She wasn't hearing what she wanted to hear. And so since she wasn't hearing what she wanted to hear, she just shut it down and walked off. And so at that point, she went to her room. Of course, Brent was there in her room, or he followed her. I don't know how it all ended up, but he ended up there, and ultimately he ended up staying the night there. So as far as London was concerned, he claimed that was a red flag when he was sitting with the rest of the brothers, and he was, I guess you could say, contemplating out loud that was a red flag and that's not something that he wanted to tolerate. But again, that's not something that he did. That wasn't a decision about her character or about the way she behaves. It wasn't a decision that he came to through knowledge and communication with her. That's something that happened as a result of his inability, of his lack. He didn't make the decision. The ladies made the decision, and that I don't like. I think that's not a man move. I don't like that at all. So I'm not really feeling that situation too well. I'm not feeling the situation with Alexis and Brent, and I'm not really feeling the situation with London and Devyne because how it originated. All right. As I mentioned earlier, number three, he doesn't do a good job of explaining himself. The way he talks or communicates, he doesn't really communicate need or doesn't communicate what he desires and wants. He kind of allows the women to dictate what's being said to him, and he just agrees with it. He speaks almost like a needy woman in a sense. He wants to be agreeable. He doesn't it's like he has a hard time with confrontation. I could be wrong. Anyway, number four, he doesn't seem to me to understand that he totally misunderstood the quality of his connection with both women. I think he was totally off the reservation, because I think he believes that just having a chemical connection does it. And maybe in the past that's been his pattern, that's just been his experience, that making a chemical connection and creating stimulation and going forward based upon that physical stimulation, that would have been enough. But in order to sustain a relationship that's going to be a permanent relationship, in order to get to that promised land of real intimacy with a woman, you're going to have to do more than just have chemistry. Okay? You're going to have to be able to talk to her in such a way that solicits her heart to become more open to what you're saying, and then you're going to be able to be able to talk to her. You're going to have to be able to tune in, and you're going to have to be able to touch her in such a way, and I don't mean sexually. You'll be able to touch her in such a way that also opens her up to receive more. And if you can't do that, in other words, walk and chew gum at the same time as a man, you're going to have to be able, that's something you have to learn, because most women don't even divulge that information. You have to be able to touch her, you have to be able to speak to her, and you're going to have to be able to tune into her in such a way, simultaneously, if you can, in such a way where that opens her up. And he never did that to either woman. Okay? That's the takeaway I got from watching and observing Mr. London. Now let's talk about the ladies. This is the takeaway I got from the ladies. It's the same one. Neither one of the ladies, well, no, I take that back. I was going to say that Devyne was not being authentic, but I take that back. She was. She was being very clear. I have to give it to her. She was very ladylike. She was very feminine. She didn't really push the envelopes too much. She was playing the game according to the rules. She bowed out. She allowed London to figure out what he wanted. She was open to the decision he made. She had already committed to this man initially. When she met him, she liked him. And the problem with Alexis was all over the place. She was like at a smorgasbord. She was with the older gentleman, Carrie. She was with, I don't forget the first guy's name. I think his name was Chris, the guy with the jokes, and then the last guy, Brent, and now, of course, London. So that's like 4 guys right there. So she was really all over the place. And in and of itself, I'm not upset with that. I'm just saying that she didn't seem to be able to focus on anything other than getting the attention she thinks she deserves. So I don't think she's been doing a whole lot of practicing who she is and what she's going to bring to the table. All I've heard from her is what she wants, and which is to be married, of course, which is nothing wrong with that. Having children, which is nothing wrong with that. But we don't know who she is. Who is Alexis? I don't know who Alexis is. Who is she? All I see is a combative young lady who is a little bit domineering and a little bit of attention hog. That's just my opinion. All right. Number 2 that I noticed is, at least not so much with Devyne, but a lot more with Alexis. She was reading too much into what she believed London was saying. She was just reading too much into it. He was being literal, like all men are. Whatever he said is exactly what he meant. But she was like, as I say, when, the way men and women listen to one another, when a man is listening to his woman, or any woman for that matter, or a man for that matter, but especially women, if the woman's in a good mood, like I said, he's only listening for the point. Get to the point. If she's not in a good mood, she's in a different place, he's listening for how he can solve a problem. So he's listening for the problem because he wants to help her. That's how men help, right? And whereas women, when they listen plans and promises. He's not making all these promises that she was pointing and stating and all this other stuff, but that's what she heard. All right. Number 3 and the last thing, and I'm going to let you guys get out of here. I think not so much Devyne again. I think she was more open and looking at the opportunities that were presented to her. But I kind of got the idea that the way Alexis rolls, and a lot of women make this decision, the thing is, she was being a little bit too committed to a specific outcome, a specific intention, a specific destination she wanted the relationship to get to. She was a bit too committed to it rather than remaining open to the opportunities, to the outcome, and to being open and just, as I say, and just being herself. Practicing that, because you can't control the other person. You're there trying to find a connection, and you have to be open and take the opportunities as they come along. Don't be so committed to an outcome, because you can only do what you can do. So with that being said, I hope you learned something. Think about it. That's my time. I thank you for yours. Catch you on the other side. God bless you.